Viewer discretion is advised. The book for this episode is filled with smut, and thus discussion around sex and kinks is prevalent throughout the review. If you are under 18, please go somewhere else, such as a cozy video game, or hug a tree. Thank you.
What up, bookcrows? My name is Thyme, and I shall be your host for today. And I am here with my co-host, Beryl. Today we shall be reviewing SwordCrossed by Freya Marske. I think that's how I pronounce the name. Marske? It's M-A-R-S-K-E, so that's as close as I'm getting. But before we get into it, Beryl, have you purchased any books recently, and what is your current read?
My current read is still the same as last week, Phoenix Keeper. I've been busy with homework and other things, so...
The life of a college student.
It's a college student in their senior year.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the worst. I haven't started it yet, but my next read is for the spooky season. It is Raising the Horseman, which is like a pseudo-sequel to Ichabod Crane. I actually have read it before, so this is my second read-through. But I actually got new books! I got Voice of the Ocean, because you know me. I see ocean and pirates, and I go for it immediately. And then the second book has a bit of a story, okay? You see this book, okay? Fancy, beautiful cover, lovely. This is the same book.
A reminder that our audience can't see the book.
I know. But that's okay. So this version of it, I had, while the author was promoting the release of the book, with this cover, as if this one did not exist. So while R.M. Gray, I have a question. Is this version I have with the character's name being Violet instead of Aster not supposed to be purchasable? Because I purchased it from you on Amazon.
This is...
with your profile.
This is Nightweaver by R.M. Gray, because you've just been holding the book.
Yes.
Look at this.
Yeah. I have questions, and I don't think I'm getting answers. But onto the actual book, because it's going to be a long one. Have you ever read a book that's so horny, you forget the actual rest of the plot of the book and then get confused?
Only on purpose.
So this was a very hard book to read. It was very dense. It took me like a month. So fair warning, fair readers. And I apologize in advance to Beryl, the editor.
No.
This is going to take a bit. This is 12 pages of script. We start out in the first perspective of the book, which is Maddie. And Maddie is, on the cover, he is the dark one, the dark-skinned one with the dark hair and the blue thingy. I'm going to put the thing on the thumbnail. But the way we were introduced to Maddie is in a bar, and he has this quirk of counting things. Like how many bottles are on the wall and things like that. And this is a coping mechanism that does not come up except one other time. And Maddie is dreading his upcoming nuptials to Sophia, which is happening so that his family can be saved from the brink of ruin. And Sophia, to Maddie and everyone else's knowledge, is in love with this other guy named Ardeen. I think that's how you pronounce it, because it's A-R and then D. So Ardeen, who is a sword fighter, poet, and son of Maddie's father's business associate. Now, as Maddie is walking back from buying this fancy, expensive bottle of wine so that, everyone in the bar thinks that his family is still, up and coming when they are not, he runs into a red-headed man and breaks this man's pocket watch, from what he knows. And if you did not pick up, yes, this is the love interest.
Okay.
Of course it is. Meet cute. So to not lose face in front of everyone at the bar, and with, this man who he now has broken the possession of something, and the man is like, oh no, I was on an errand from blah blah blah. It's not important. He gives the man $200. I don't remember what the actual name of the currency is, so that the guy can get it repaired. And Maddie is so stressed about this because he's like, well, crap, I was gonna use the money to pay for a best man, because in this area, I don't really know what to call it. The world building was not great.
Oh, that sucks.
He's like, well, I was going to use that to buy a best man, and the way the best man works is it's someone that you pay for so that they will fight if there is an objection at the wedding. So it's a swordsman, basically. And he was hoping to get, as best as the limited funds he had could buy, so that they could, beat Ardeen and blah, blah, blah. Now, the next day, a very hungover Maddie goes to the Swordsman's Guild to hire, sight unseen, his best man, because the guy's like, yeah, there's this new guy that I can have for the, limited funds you're able to give me. And who do we see but the red-headed man who has conned Maddie out of $200 dues. So this is how we are introduced to Luca.
Oh my goodness.
That's face.
Alright, I'm following. This is a movie.
Yes, that was the conclusion I came to with this book, is that this should have been a script for a movie. Luca shows Maddie his skills because Maddie is pissed at him and is like, Bish, if I'm paying for you, you best be good. And he's like, well, I am. So, shirt off! Because he can tell Maddie is attracted to his Luca-ness. He shows Maddie the skills, and Maddie finds this so attractive. He's like, damn, I am attracted to this con man I just met. And I'm like, okay, boy. But then I'm also like, well, I know there are people who, they have the horniness, but that's okay. So then they come to an agreement. Maddie's like, hey, I won't rat out that you're an asshole con man. If you be my best man, you fucking win, and you're gonna give me swords lessons. Because this is the first thing that I want to do for myself. So that is how we get to the rest of the book. We then get...
What does this is the first thing that I want to do for myself mean here? Like, did this man have no personality before this?
Basically, his entire personality is, I have to take care of my family estate and be the accountant, math person, because my dad is now the guild master head of all the guilds. That is his personality, yes.
Great.
So then, we have a very boring chapter from Luca's perspective, because yes, this is in dual perspective. This should have been in one perspective. I'm going to tell you that now. That is a spoiler. Like, you can do dual perspective. You gotta do it well.
There's a time and place for dual
Yes.
But most of the time nowadays, it's just not done right at all.
Yeah. So we get a very boring chapter where nothing happens, except there is a semi-reveal that's not a reveal if you read the Dust Jacket, that Luca is not technically who he says he is. Surprise, he's a con man. And it's kind of hints that in his past, he got up to some thievery. However, this chapter showcases beautifully that Luca is a sociopath who is able to just come up with random different stories about who the fuck he is on the fly. So then we go back to Maddie. And Maddie picks up, if I remember correctly, okay, he picks up Sophia because they're going to have, like, some dinner thing with the family. If I remember correctly, okay? I didn't take notes on why he picked her up. I just know he picked her up for something. And this is where you find out, no, she's not actually in love with Adrien. He's just an asshole, and she hates him.
Okay. What is this plot point?
So then, you also find out that she has turned him down several times, but he is a man and does not listen to women. So he writes famous poetry that everyone in the town knows, and that's why everyone thinks she's in love with him.
Actually accurate to real life.
Yes, it really is. So then we go, and you're like, okay, Maddie and Luca start having their sword thingies. Luca's like, bruh, you suck. Because Maddie doesn't know shit. But you know what? There's sexual tension there. And that takes up a lot of the book, is just the sexual tension. Eventually, Luca helps Maddie with a problem that he's having. Later on, Luca, in a perspective chapter from him, he's doing his swordsman thing that he's a swordsman, so he does things. And there's a coming-of-age ceremony, so he's with another swordsman, and they're doing this little duel thing. And then after the ceremony, he overhears what picks up some of the plot, which is that people happen to be plotting against the J house, which is Maddie's house, to bring the house down. And that is why the house is currently on the brink of ruin, is because apparently people said, fuck the J's. You're making a face.
How long does it take to get to this plot point? This seems like the most important plot point. Everything else feels like some bullshit. Like, when does it... What? Everything else feels like filler, and now we finally got to the plot. Please tell me it's in the first 10% of the book.
Let's see here. It looks like It's actually, that's the thing, okay? So
Flipping a lot of pages.
it's in chapter 6, it looks like.
That's not bad.
But
Wait,
mind you, we
all of that
there's
happened.
still, yes, there's still a lot left. We're not even a quarter of the way in, and we finally hit the major plot starter.
Chapter 6 is bad for the plot starter to be in anyways. But at least it's in the first 10% of the book, so, like...
Mind you, I start going, and I'm just like, okay, that's when that happened. There's a big chunk where I have, like, no notes. And part of that is because it finally got to the point where I'm like, okay, I can just start filling stuff out. There's nothing real big to comment on. Because most of the way through, like a third of the book, I'm just like, okay, when are they gonna finally, fuck already? So that I can get to the plot. Hello.
That's bad. That's really bad.
Back to my wrong page. There's a reason there's 12 pages of notes. And they got really unhinged on my first draft. So, Maddie isn't doing well with his on a day. He's not doing well for his lessons play, right? And they get to an argument. Cue the most major sexual tension of the book and flirting to the point where they're literally almost ready to just fuck in the middle of this swords arena. I apologize, YouTube. I already checked that, like, this is not a minor okay book, okay? 18 plus with parental permission, I guess. So then Luca's like, hey, why don't you come to my place later tonight? And Maddie accepts. Because Luca, he's like, yeah, we can have a drink. But he's like, I have to go to this family dinner with my fiance first. But I'll meet you afterwards. Maddie ends up showing up at Luca's with a very expensive bottle of wine that Sophia actually brought to dinner. And then his family told him to take it because they're like, oh, you're gonna go, hang out with your best man. At least you're finally making friends, loser. And Luca tells him and they start talking, and Luca starts getting to the point where he's like, damn, we're actually having, serious conversations here. I feel like I should tell him about what I overheard. So he tells Maddie what he overheard. Mind you, I barely understood what he overheard, so I don't know how he was able to explain it well. Maddie believes what he's saying, and he also believes that it comes with a price of the sexual nature.
Oh, no.
And Luca's like, no, I just wanted to tell you this straight up, even though he did originally plan to seduce Maddie. And then he falls asleep because he's drunk.
So wait. Plan to seduce Maddie. Maddie seduction gets foiled because Maddie thinks that he needs to fuck in exchange for information. Okay.
Yeah. And Luca's like, I guess he decides that he doesn't want to ruin it. It's weird.
I thought he was a sociopath. Where did this moral compass come from?
I know. To me, he is a sociopath, because I'm like, bruh. But, so the next day, they break into his father's associate's house and find incriminating documents.
Where did this come from? It came from what he overheard, right?
Yeah, it came from the conversation. There might have been more conversation, but in my notes, that's the next thing I wrote down was the next day they break into this guy's house.
Okay.
And so they find incriminating evidence, but there's a problem. They start hearing the door start to open, and then they hear Adrien come into the house because, remember, Adrien is his father's associate's son. So then Luke is like, we gotta hide in this wardrobe because this is the only good place to hide. I know because I scoped the place already.
Ugh, going back in the closet already.
Yes. So then they hide in this closet, okay? And they're listening to Adrien talk to this guy. And at one point the closet opens, but I guess the people weren't paying attention. And there's so much sexual tension happening that one of them actually starts getting it up, and it's distracting. Then Luca gets mad because Adrien insults Maddie at one point, basically saying that, Maddie hasn't earned anything. He is, a rich, posh bitch. Which, mind you, usually I would agree with. However, this guy is the most garbage human being ever. Literally, the J family offered him a position to work in their house, and he turned it down because to him it wasn't good enough. But I also just don't give a shit. So,
something about having to make the other character really obnoxiously awful at the loss of actually making them a character just to, keep the story going. Ugh.
But also, like, Maddie hasn't even tried to have a good relationship with his fiance at this point. Like, I understand, like, it's a marriage of convenience stuff, and I'll get into that later, but he really does not give a shit at all. Maddie then asks Luca to meet him at the beach the next day. Mind you, this has not been very long between when they knew each other, okay? Which is fine, you know, some people can just have one-night stands. But to me, they're trying to make this a romance story. It's supposed to be a great love. Then, when Luca meets him, he realizes that Maddie, for his health, was literally told to go swimming every morning. So Maddie's essentially invited him to this little pool at the beach that he goes to every day. And it's a public beach, okay? Keep that in mind. They are chatting a bit and stuff like that, and then Maddie starts initiating kissing and things like that. I guess he finally decided Luca's just too attractive. And then Maddie stops it, and he's like, no, we can't be doing things like this. You know, I'm supposed to be getting married to save my family. And Luca's like, the fuck are you talking about? We could just do things, and then it stops after you get married. And Maddie's like, no, I can't do that. They decide, you know, it's time to go home and stuff. They run into Maddie's sister. So, thing I haven't mentioned, he has 3 siblings, 2 of which are very little, one of which is close to his age. Now, his sister Maya runs into them on the way home. She's like, oh, this is the mysterious best man no one in this town has met because he just came here. We need to have lunch. And so they go to have lunch, breakfast, whatever. And they tell her the whole thing that's happening with the conspiracy sabotage of their house, minus the sexual tension, obviously. Mm-hmm. After Maya and Maddie start walking home, she's like, bitch, you want to fuck your best man. And Maddie's like, what?
Yeah, no shit, dude.
And so she and Luca plan to meet to infiltrate this competitor house wool factory thing, because the J family deals in wool, even though it's really hot climate where they're at the moment. They meet the next day, and they discover the competitors are being shady and mislabeling this, like, mixed wool as, like, this really high-class wool or whatever. But the problem is, you can't prove it unless you're looking at the fibers, not the finished product. And they're mislabeling it, and Maya's like, bruh, you need to leave my brother alone. You are a distraction. And Luca's like, what? And she's like, yeah. And Luca's like, well, in his head, he's thinking, well, I know that I'm not supposed to, but now that I know I can't have him, I want him even more. And I'm like, bruh.
Bruh.
So the next day...
Wait, how old are these people?
I didn't really say. They're supposed to be, like, as far as I know, I think they're supposed to be at least 18?
I'm just gonna assume they're all 18. 18, 19?
I don't remember if it ever tells me how old they are, but I mean, one's supposed to be leading his house, so I'm assuming they're 18, early 20s at most.
They're acting like teenagers.
Yes.
Ugh.
So then the next day, there is a ball to celebrate the engagement of Maddie and Sophia, which goes very well up until Maddie decides to, or at least I don't know if he decides to, if he just ends up dancing with Luca. I think he makes it a cognitive decision. So then a slow song starts coming on after the song ends, and he's like, I'm supposed to go dance with Sophia now, but I don't want to, because I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. So then he starts feeling panicked and, like, closed in upon, and he tells Luca, I can't be here right now. So Luca's like, okay, and just whisks Maddie out of the ball. They close the door into a room that they're in, and Luca's like, bruh. And Maddie immediately goes in for a kiss. Naturally, the sex ensues. Finally happens. God.
Okay.
Can we have a plot? So then Luca is thinking about, you know, how beautiful Maddie looks or whatever. And this is one of the things that to me was a big, like, yeah, there's no prep done. Like, it was a cognitive decision not to do the prep work for the man-to-man.
No. No.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not how this works. There was a book where I actually was like, okay, I can see this working, because one of the people was a merfolk and the other had tentacles, okay? Tentacles secrete this weird shit. I was okay with it then. These are 2 human beings. You gotta prep.
What are they doing? Like,
so...
What was this, like, who wrote this? A straight woman? A straight man?
I don't know if they're straight.
A woman wrote this. Girl, get some fucking lube for yourself.
It does not say if they're straight. I know they live in Australia. I don't know what their status is. That's all I know. They live in Australia. However, if you talk to flat earthers, Australia doesn't exist. So Luca realizes he's in a little too deep because he's like, yeah, I'm upset because after all this is over, I don't get to keep him. And then the next morning comes and they do oral. And then Luca tells Maddie that, hey, you deserve to tell your family that you're feeling trapped by all your responsibility and pressure to upkeep your house, and that you're not fine, and you don't actually want to marry Sophia. And Maddie's like, bruh, I can't. This is the only way to save my family. And Luca's like, but if if that wasn't the case, would you be doing this? And it's like completely unspoken. That would be an idiot. Of course he wouldn't be doing this. But also you two wouldn't have met, you dumbass. So it's at this point I start getting a bit lost. Because then Luca starts looking into things. But I'm confused why he's looking into them, okay? Like, I understood that there was a conversation earlier about a ship that sank and things like that. And that's why the Jays went into ruin. Is because this mysterious ship sank. So Luca starts looking into stuff. But mind you, most of this book has been filled with the sexual tension. So my brain's like, I'm lost. And you're only given partial information on what Luca's finding. He pretends to be this person's... I have no idea if I pronounced it right. I'm going to shorten it to how they've shortened the name later. Perse Matil. And he's looking at these ship's records and the wreckage of the ship that got lost at sea and the records of another ship that happened to be the ship he came to Glassport on from Sina. And it had this really special, expensive wool on it. He takes down information on the crew and the ship and all this stuff. But that's about all that the book actually gives you about what he himself, from his perspective, is getting, okay? And then out of the blue, like a day or so later, they're doing their swords lessons, and what do you know? Luca's brother shows up in the middle of this swords lesson and outs Luca's actual name, because his name is not Luca Pierre, which sounds very French. His name is Lucastin Hart. And at this point, I got very confused. Because Maddie hears the name Hart and gets pissed. He gets horribly pissed. And it wasn't really clear why, so I had to go flip back to the beginning of the book. And I found a one-off sentence, 200 pages earlier from this point, about the Hart family possibly going in. There's rumors that the Hart family's going into wool. So then they fight about that for a bit. Luca's like, no, let me explain what's going on. And Maddie's like, bitch, I don't want you to. I want you to fight me. So then Luca starts being a little bitch. And I'm like, someone please explain what's happening. And then the third act breakup ensues.
Of course.
Okay. And at this point, I want to go home.
At this point, I want to go home.
Okay. Yes. So you find out that because of finding out that Luca's last name is Hart, Maddie is now under the assumption that Luca knew who Maddie was the whole damn time, from the second that he conned him. And he has been a spy for the Hart family because there were rumors that the Hart family was going into wool, and the Hart family currently deals in silk, which is what Sophia's family is in. So then you find out, Luca's like, Perse, how did you find me? He's like, you used my name, you idiot. Like, the person that you gave my name to and my in-law's last name to was like, hey, is there like something going on that I need to know about? And then it got to me. And then mom was like, yo, go get your stupid ass little brother.
Oh my god.
And Luca's like, so is our family going into like wool? And Perse is like, why the fuck would we do that? Like, no. And he's like, we just want you to come home because mom called in some favors and made it so that you wouldn't go to jail for stealing like a little dumbass. And Luca's like, but I can't go home. I made a deal and I need to fix everything that you just fucked up by showing up in. So Perse is like, okay, explain to me what's going on. And Perse is like, do you know why I married the person I married? And Luca's like, no. And he's obviously, Perse is like, bruh, I know what's going on with you. So then you go back to Maddie. And Maddie's having a panic attack because he's like, now I don't have a best man. I can't trust the guy that I just fucked a couple times. And he runs into his sister, and she's like, bro, what the fuck's going on? Why are you clearly in a panic? So then he tells her, and she's like, okay, so Luca's secretly a spy, possibly, question mark, we don't know. And then she's like, wait, you slept with him, didn't you? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, I thought you could handle it. He's like, well, clearly I couldn't. So then he starts going on a rant about how he can't handle all the responsibility of the family and everything on his shoulders and everything with Sophia, and he's unhappy with his life. And I'm like, same.
I'm pretty unhappy with his life too. Like,
so then Maya and Maddie, this is still going, okay? I still have pages. So Maya and Maddie bring in Sophia into everything that's going on. And they all wonder what they're going to do, because they all think Luke is a spy. And Sophia, being the smart lady she is, okay? She gets the 2 good lines in this book. Just saying. She's like, well, we can't do shit about Luca, even if he is a spy. But you know what? We're about to get married anyway, so it doesn't matter if your family's on the brink of ruin or whatever. So if he wants to spread rumors, let him spread rumors. We gotta focus on the actual thing we can fix, which is the sabotage. And we need to bring in your family. And she's also not upset about the fact that her fiance, slept with some random dude. Because she's like, yeah, I don't love you either, bruh. Like, why would I give a shit? They decide to deal with the issue that is at hand, that is the wool stuff. She's like, well, Maya, you saw all the mislabeling. So we can tell your parents about that, and about the fact that the guy that is the associate, his name is Chorus or whatever, he's working with the Casey house to do all this sabotage. So then, after we figure out that they're like, yes, we're going to start dealing with this, we go back to Luca, who is getting help from a girl who works at the boarding house that he's staying at. And they sneak into the Casey house, hoping to find proof for Maddie. Because at this point, he's like, I need to prove to Maddie that I am still worthy of helping him and redeem myself, right? So he goes, and as he goes, he finds all the shit that he wants. And as he goes to leave, who shows up at the house but Chorus Vane, the backstabbing associate of the J house. Chorus is like, Casey, we have a problem because Maddie's going to announce that there's this fancy-ass chemist that can test wool and prove if it's pure after the fabric is made. And they're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Do they suspect us? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, you know what we're going to do? We are going to just say, hey, we discovered this, mislabeling thing happened. It was the fault of a random employee. We're going to pull the line and all of this stuff. Because Maddie intended to announce this at a fancy guild meeting. And Luca also finds out that the reason that Chorus has betrayed the J family is so that his no-good son Adrain can get into the Casey house. So then after Chorus runs off into the night, like a vampire or something, I don't know what he does, Casey goes back to sleep, and Luca waits a while, and he sneaks out of the house, only to get accosted by a guy that was sent by the guild that he stole for in Cena. The guy beats the shit out of him, because he's like, yeah, your mom may have called in favors so you don't go to jail, but we're still going to teach you that stealing's bad, bruh. So then he gets the shit beat out of him.
Good.
And I don't care. So the next day, you're back with Maddie, and you're at the guild meeting. The whole thing goes down with Casey being like, yeah, the employee mislabeled, blah, 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 we're going to throw out all the wool. And Maddie comes up with an excuse about why the chemical wasn't shown, something about it being lost or whatever. It wasn't important why he actually didn't. And then a letter arrives from Luca saying, hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still your best man, though. And Maddie's like, oh, okay then. So then Maddie goes to a dinner that's being held in celebration of the wedding, and he talks to this other person that was in the incriminating papers of Chorus. Her name is Lisbeth Martin, who just full on admits to him that she's been is a part in the plot against his family, because he starts probing. She's like, yeah, bruh, I'm part of this. What are you going to do about it? It's your word against mine. And I want to do this because I don't like your dad. He's blocking this thingy I'm trying to build, so stuff's easier on me. And your dad's like, yeah, but that money can be used to fix things in the city. It's taxpayer dollars, obviously. And so Maddie is now faced with the fact that, oh my God, Luca was telling the truth about what he overheard at that one meeting, that one time earlier in the book, by happenstance. And that means that Chorus probably planted the information about the Hart family. Oh my God,
Wow.
Back with Luca. He comes to Maddie like the day before the wedding, and he's like, yeah, I am here to apologize. I'm going to tell you the truth. So he does. He's like, yeah, I ran away from my mom like a little bitch because I thought she was going to let me go to jail, and I didn't want to do that. So I ran away. And here's this package from my mother. We didn't get to read the letter when it was in his perspective. We don't get to read the letter when Maddie, Sophia, and Maya read it. So I don't know what's in this letter. They hint at it, but I don't know what's in this letter. And he's like, yeah, my mother's actually branching into Gallia silk, not wool. And that's unheard of because this silk is like really protected or something. I don't know. Yeah, but silk is Sophia's businesses, so that could still cause problems. And he lets them read the letter, and it's hinted at what's in it, but we still don't know. And then he tells them, why he ran away, and it was stupid. It was really stupid. Like, why'd you run away from home for that? And Maddie accepts Luca's apology. He just straight up hugs him, and Sophia's like, well, that answers my question about, you not wanting to get married to me. And they agree to let Maddie still be the best man, but they also agree to let him solve this major problem of neither of them want to get married, but he has all the answers to, the whole sabotage thing and how to fix it. So they're going to go forth with the wedding, pretend they're getting married, but not get married. Okay? Okay. So then the J mom or dad or whatever is like, hey, you guys coming to dinner? Is he staying too? And they're like, okay, yeah. And Luca's like, hey, Maya, hang back a little bit. I have a question for you. So then he's like, so Maya, why didn't you just offer up yourself to marry Sophia? Because you're clearly in love with her. And I'm like, well, that was a twist. I didn't know that was coming. Like, good job. You had one good twist.
I don't even know if that's a good twist if you couldn't see it coming.
I couldn't see it coming at all because it's just out of left field. Like, I was like, oh, that's unexpected.
If it's so out of left field that you're like, oh, wow, that just happened.
You only get, like, 2-3 scenes of Maya and Sophia together. And you just think they're besties.
Yeah, then it needs more. There needs to be more there.
Yeah.
Like, this is a gay book. We can assume that there's going to be a lot of LGBT stuff. We can't just have, like, a random lesbian couple appearing out of nowhere and having to accept that, like, oh, it was foretold the whole time. No, we should not be just saying they were best friends, roomies. Anyways.
We also have no, like, subtext of gay relationships not being accepted as well. So I don't know why they're... Like, I understand Maddie and Luca trying to hide their thing because, one of them's supposed to be getting married. Mm-hmm. But there was no reason for them not to just offer up the daughter. So that was another thing that I noticed. I'm like, there's no hint that gay relationships aren't accepted.
Just don't pussyfoot that. If you're gonna have a story where there's tension on the LGBT front, don't fucking pussyfoot it. Have it or don't.
Yeah. Maddie and Sophia go to dinner, and then Luca and Maya join them and all that stuff. So then the dinner ensues, and the Jays ask Luca to stay the night since he had too much wine to drink, and he accepts because they're like, well, we can't have the best man falling into a canal or something. So then he sneaks into Maddie's room, naturally. And they talk about how Maddie doesn't want Luca to return to Sina. They basically have this little proposal moment, and I guess it's sweet. I don't know. And naturally, the sex ensues. And as a side note, okay, because I don't know if I was just too asexual for this chapter, but is it sexy to put your fingers in people's mouths? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Is
that's a thing.
That's a thing.
That's a thing.
Okay. I'm just not into it, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, it is a thing. I had to ask because I'm like, was I just?
No, and it's,
am I?
It's actually one of the most common kinks somebody can have.
It is?
Yeah, it's a very, very common kink.
I would have thought biting was, the most common.
I feel like biting is well, it's called a hand kink, and it is just...
So it's like a foot kink, but for the hands?
Yeah. Foot kinks and hand kinks are, again, incredibly common, and if you're making fun of people with foot kinks, foot fetishes, that's a very massive part of the population.
I mean, it's actually, there is a psychological reason why foot fetishes happen, so I guess it makes sense that there would be one for hands, because I think that's right nearby. Mm-hmm. To me, it's just not something that I've ever, I guess, I've read it a few times in books, and to me it's always felt really weird, but like I said, I could just be too asexual for that. So if that's your thing, I apologize. We aren't kink shaming. I just don't understand.
That's okay. You got the asexual person over there with you, and the demi-romantic, almost aromantic person over here with me. and we'll figure this out. We'll figure out what's normal in romance and what's normal in sex in books somehow.
Right?
Oh god.
My other thought was, okay, if Luke is actually drunk, how is he able to get it up? But maybe that's not a thing with wine drunkenness. I've never been wine drunk, and neither has my husband. So maybe maybe that's not a thing with wine.
Okay.
But they also have this really...
I'm sorry. I'm confused. Do men not be able... Like, can men struggle getting it up if they're drunk?
There's a reason it's called whiskey dick, yes.
I've never heard of this, and you know what?
Yes.
Maybe I'm too gay for that.
Maybe I'm too gay for that. Yes, there's a thing called whiskey dick.
Okay.
They also have this really... I understand that sub and dom things are a thing, and if it's written correctly, yeah, it's pretty good to read. But they do this weird thing where essentially Maddie talks about how he doesn't care to buy her own expensive things, but that he is very much happy with the fact that he paid for Luca and bought him to me, which felt very creepy.
Oh my god, the best man thing is just prostitution.
Yeah, so it felt a bit weird. And I mean, prostitution is okay as long as, consensual on both sides, but...
It's a weird plot point to have in a book.
It's still a weird... Yeah, especially since it's supposed to be like a romance thing. I take back my comment about if it's okay on both sides, because yeah, sex work, it is naturally on both sides, but also someone's getting paid for it, but at the same time, it can still lead to terrible things.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with sex work. What's wrong with sex work is the culture that demonizes it in the first place, and the culture that demonizes women, because otherwise, like, it's the world's oldest profession for a reason.
There's a reason there's a market.
Yeah, and again, the problem with sex work is not the sex work. The problem with sex work is culture, like Western culture.
Yeah, and that some people do get exploited with it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so the wedding finally happens. We are finally at the goddamn wedding. We're only a lot into the book. So the wedding arrives, and on cue, Adrien in all of his Adrien-ness objects, and then outs who Luca is to the community, because the rest of the community doesn't know who Luca is. He believes that he can't be a competent swordsman because Luca is the heir to a house and is clearly just into this swordsman thing and taking it away from another person, and he clearly is just doing something he doesn't deserve because he's a rich little bitch. I'm like, don't say that about someone that you're clearly about to get into a sword fight with and don't actually know how competent the guy is.
Honestly, Adrien is also a rich little bitch, and he's just not as rich as he wants to be, so it sounds like he's compensating for something.
It does. So obviously Luca wins. Even though Adrien tries to use Luca being injured, because remember, the man got beat the shit out of, like, 2 days ago, at most. Adrien is then just like, Sophia, I'm so sorry, I tried my best, and I'm so sorry I failed you. And Sophia's like, bitch, I didn't want you. She's like, I didn't want you at all. I already turned you down. He's like, after what I just did for you? And she's like, sir, I've already turned you down 4 to 5 times, and now I'm turning you down in public, which is obviously embarrassing for you. Like, get the fuck out. And at this point, I wish the book was about her.
Honestly,
she is much more interesting.
This is starting to read like as we know, this author is an AFAB author trying to write male characters that are interesting and doing the thing that male authors typically do with their female characters and struggling really hard. And I feel bad for this author, but also like, come on.
You should have written what you knew. You gotta write what you know. Unless you're doing a lot of research, or you happen to be, in the gay community especially, and you happen to know the experiences that gay people go through. I personally, when I was reading and they were roommates, I had to pause and think and even ask you, like, what are some of the experiences that trans people go through? How much is this actually relatable? Things like that. Because I'm not a trans person, but I do know people in that regard. And I had to think about it. And it's one of those things where, yeah, if you have someone who's not a trans person writing a book about a trans character, it's going to come off horrid. And that happens a lot with especially gay characters, where you have women writing gay characters, and they clearly, and I'm not saying that this person had that intent or anything like that, you know, grace where grace is due. Maybe I missed things. I don't know. That happens. You know, my ADHD might have just been like skipped to the bottom of the page. I don't know. But you do have a lot of female authors who are writing gay characters and romanticizing it because it is a thing that, you know, there's a market for that now, which is a bit weird in regard to other straight cis women reading it. And I love that, you know, there is gay characters in media, especially since there are, like, one of my favorite authors who wrote a gay book, the one that I mentioned earlier with the merfolk and the tentacle porn. He is a gay man, and the dedication to that book was to all of the little boys who watched The Little Mermaid and were in love with Eric. Like, that was one of those things where I'm like, yeah, this is why this needs to be a genre, not for over-romanticizing it in weird ways.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I started to wish that this was about her, because I feel like it could have been a really good book that way.
There's this big problem with... and I'm going to talk about straight culture in general on this. Just in society, the way men treat women do it to men a lot. And the reason why it's more socially acceptable for women is because society doesn't treat men as a whole the way that society treats women as a whole. But at the end of the day, it's really gross regardless. Just the way, like, hanging out with straight women sometimes really makes me uncomfortable when I hear them talking about men. Or, like, just straight up the one time this bi girl was, like, absolutely weirded out that she showed me a picture of a dude and was like, isn't he the prettiest man you know? And I'm like, I don't know, he looks like a man to me. And she was just like, I know you're not attracted to men. And this is back when I thought I was attracted to men. She's like, I know you're not attracted to men, but you'd have to see that this man is gorgeous. And I don't know, Dean Winchester just looks like another man to me, my dude.
I mean, mind you, the only time I'm ever interested when anything comes to, like, I was someone who could relate to Dean, so I liked Dean for that reason. I was more interested in the relationship Dean and Castiel had than I was actually Dean.
Fair.
I'm sorry. But I never looked at any of the cast of Supernatural, this is a bit of a side tangent, and was like, yes, I want to be with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the closest I get to that is looking at Colin O'Due playing Captain Hook, but a lot of that is the presence he brings to that character, not him as an actual, you know, human. Yeah. It's the presence.
Yeah.
Like, and Colin O'Due is a little fluffy little cinnamon roll, and I love it. Like, he's adorable. And I'm like, yes, it's perfect. But it's the presence that really brings it out.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of that with characters, too. Like, there's a reason why people love Astarion, is because he's got presence.
And to be fair, when you and I love a character, it is generally this case where it's just like, oh, it is the character that we love, not because we're sexualizing the character. But these are like straight people, and not just straight people. Like, there's a lot of, I've run into my fair share of lesbians that do this too. But it's kind of just in our society, we over-sexualize a lot in general, and when it comes to specifically gay men, we have gay men who treat each other the way that men treat women. We have straight men who are afraid that gay men are going to treat them the way that they treat women, which no gay man is interested in that straight man. I'm just telling you right now, get over yourself, straight men. Well, there's a lot of gay men that are interested in straight men, but a lot of gay men are also more afraid of being persecuted than to actually do anything.
Yes.
Then there's the case where straight women feel okay and comfortable treating gay men like crap. And a lot of that is the feminization of gay men and the fact that there is internalized misogyny in the way straight women are treating gay men. And that's part of where we get this sexualization of gay men that is made not for gay men, but for straight women.
Yeah, and I think it was 90s that the show, 90s or early 2000s, when Will and Grace came out, that didn't help. That did not help. Because the main character that everyone remembers from that is the one that is the more flamboyant one. Whereas, you know, you did have the other one where he's just a dude.
The thing is,
he's just a guy.
Back then, that's the only way you could get gay people on TV. is if you feminize them to make them non-threatening to society.
Yeah, they were played for a joke, basically.
Yeah, it's the same thing with people of color. A lot of people of color on TV, they either have to be criminalized on TV or they have to be feminized in order to be seen as non-threatening. So while it doesn't help, it still helps because, it's at least representation.
Yeah, it's representation, but it's also not great representation.
Yeah.
Which can do a lot of damage. I mean, there's a reason why there was a study that was done that showed that younger people of color thought that they were bad because in media, people of color are represented that way.
Yeah.
All this to say, please, produce good content.
Yes, produce research, uplift people who are trying to write about their own demographics.
This is a bit of a self promo, I guess, but when I started writing my book, it is not published, so don't go find it. I realized I had to research nautical terms for a fucking ship. So I'm like, hey, father-in-law, you were in the Coast Guard. How do ships work? And I had to go look up terms and make sure I understood it. And even then, I didn't understand it well enough that I was like, okay, at least I have to be somewhat vague.
Yeah.
Somewhat vague. I don't know how it actually old-timey pirate ships work, so I'm gonna be vague about it. I'll use buzzwords occasionally, though. That's it.
And to be fair, the average audience just needs to be able to maintain their suspension of disbelief as much as it's gonna probably take somebody out of it occasionally.
Yeah. Too much world building takes you out just as much as no world building.
Absolutely.
And I'll get into the world building. Don't you worry.
Oh boy.
Okay. So after the first objection, Enadrine, is horribly decimated on the dance floor by his not lover that he thought was his lover. Maya objects the second time it's asked. So then you have this obviously very staged fight where Luca loses, because it was obviously planned that way. And then Luca begins his grand reveal. So he starts out by announcing the silk thing. The Hart family's going into silk, not wool. And he gives a letter to Maddie's father, to Mr. J. Which, side note, I kept thinking about Harley Quinn when I read it, because, Mr. J. So then we finally get to know what's in the goddamn letter! Okay, I was upset. And it says that the Harts will have a 5-year contract that with the major fashion industries in Cena. In exchange for that, not branching out into Glassport and such, we'll be buying the highest grade wool, and it will be exclusively with the J House. And that was the bargain that Luca made for him to return home and to stop being a little bitch. So then he starts talking about the fiber fraud and the betrayal of Chorus and the story of the Isidonia. So we finally find out what happens to the ship. He tells about how he found out that the Isidonia did not sink at sea. It was stolen by the Caseys, and it was rebranded and remodeled, essentially, with the help of the Liar House, which is the place where he got all this information from in the first place, who was obviously paid off not to, tell all this shit. And then, naturally, Casey is like, bruh, are you gonna believe this bullshit? He's probably lying to you. And Luke is like, aha! I have proof! And he produces a swatch of wool, which is this fancy wool, and he gives it to Mr. J, and he's like, yeah, this shit's in a warehouse. It still has the tags on it that was on it for your house. Here's the address for said warehouse. Casey tries to deny it again, to which point Maddie brings up the part with Lisbeth Martin, and Casey and Lisbeth just start arguing and outing each other like idiots. So then they bring Chorus Vane down, and Chorus is like, bruh, no, I can just ruin you. And he's like, what are you gonna do? Who's gonna believe you? You're a betrayer asshole. Think about your son. You should just run to another country and reinvent yourself, giving the little hint at what Luca did. So, with all of the drama done, everyone's like, okay, Maya, you won the duel. What are we going to do now? There's no marriage now. So then Sophia runs over to her family. They chat. And Sophia and Maya are like, okay, we're getting married now. So they get married. Go lesbians.
Let's go lesbians. Let's go.
Luca hands Maddie the wool. And literally, this is what he says when he hands Maddie the wool. I'm buying you this time. And then they kiss and I die inside.
Is that how it ends?
No, there's one more chapter.
Oh my god.
This went on forever. So in the last chapter, it's a week later. Luca and Maddie are saying goodbye to Maddie's family, and Maddie's parents are like, "Oh, you can come back to Glassport." He's like, "No, I don't think I want to head back to Glassport." And they're like, "Oh, we're so not used to you saying what you want and don't want. Basically, everything's happy and Gucci, and they're gonna go off to Sina and have their life that they deserve." And Maddie's family gives him his blessing to marry Luca. Basically, that's how it. You could have just ended it with the wedding. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So I couldn't decide what I wanted to rate this. I eventually ended on like a 2.5 because I'm like, this is probably someone's cup of tea. I'm probably being generous. This is probably someone's cup of tea though, and I don't want to shit on anyone who liked this book. But it was so long and so dense. You should have either had it be about the two lesbians and a girl power book, basically, or it should have just been from Maddie's perspective. It felt like they tried to do like a Hercule Poirot thing with leaving the reader a bit in the dark about certain things. And there's a reason Hercule Poirot works. It's not from the perspective of Hercule Poirot. The major twist of the Hart family, it just felt weird because it was 200 pages later. I didn't even remember that was a name. And the mystery part didn't really feel genuine because of it. And like a third of the book was just about the sexual tension, and then the third act breakup just felt dumb because they could have just had a real conversation and they'd not had that. And the world building. So you come into this book without knowing anything. It felt like there should have been a table of contents or something that I could have looked at and was like, okay, yes, this is how this world works. You don't really get that. You're just thrown in. Like you already know, basically. So they have these like gods for their guild, I guess kind of like how Greek mythology, they had gods for specific things like Hephaestus and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is actually in cultures where they have multiple gods. Like being a pagan, I don't live in Greece where, they had multiple gods in ancient Greece and stuff. I don't live in ancient Greece. I don't know if this was a thing at that time. But they do weird things. So it was on like page 3. When Maddie, I think, said Huna's teeth. And I was like, who the fuck? What? And I realized that is how they're cursing. So at one point, they actually say something, I think, don't quote me verbatim, they say something along the lines of like Huna's wet slit or something like that. And it felt really weird.
What?
It was really weird. But yeah, they just say God's name, body part, I guess, for cursing. And it was really, like, it made sense in Harry Potter for them to say, like, Merlin's beard or whatever. Like, that didn't feel weird. It feels weird here. And that's some of the biggest world building you get, other than Maddie's mother is from a different area. That's all you really get. You're kind of just thrown in.
There's such a thing as too much world building, as we said earlier, and there's such a thing as too little. And sometimes you gotta ask yourself, is it necessary to have an entire pantheon for a book where the pantheon really doesn't have much to do with anything? And then you have to ask yourself, well, what happens if I don't have the pantheon? And generally, if it is a romance book that has nothing to do with somebody who worships, like nobody's a super devout person, and there's no organization that is super devout that's making a mess about things, even if it's like a red herring version of that, like if there's a super devout organization that's the red herring bad guy, like sure, whatever. Yeah. That counts in thinking about these things too. Like if you're not going to utilize those, what is the point?
Yeah. And you occasionally had Luca thinking about, like, how the god of the specific guild that he stole from was, like, cursing him with certain things and stuff like that. Mind you, it was things like he ended up in situations that he didn't like, that sort of thing. It wasn't that big of a deal necessarily. Like, the gods thing would have been fine if they hadn't used the weird cursing things. That's what threw me off the worst, is the way that they did that, because it was so out of the blue that it took me out of it for a bit.
The slit thing is weird.
Yeah.
And to some degree, part of the reason why it works sometimes and why it doesn't work other times is because you have to mention the gods in their entirety or what they do. So in like one of my books, I have by Desiree's breath, and Desiree is the goddess of devotion, and in that moment, it is one of the human characters swearing because they are like in a romantic situationship with somebody and they're frustrated with them. And that's toting the line on its own. I'm not saying I'm a good author. I'm not saying that I have a great perfect example within my own work. I'm saying that that's the toting the line between what is acceptable and what isn't. But just saying slit, and they just said the god's teeth, like, this is reminding me of, oh goodness, Obsidian. It's a book that we've both read. Obsidian something. I know we've both read it. Because the third one is Reign of Rose.
Oh, Dawn of Onyx.
Dawn of Onyx. Oh my god, I thought I was thinking Obsidian.
You said Obsidian. I'm like, what book do I know that's Obsidian?
Okay. Like, in Dawn of Onyx, it took me a few times to realize that they were swearing on stones, but the first time they mentioned swearing on stones, the main character immediately is like, I shouldn't be doing that, because my mom would yell at me for using the stone's name in vain, and then I immediately clicked what it was. I'm not... Like, they didn't just drop it first time with no explanation, you know?
Yeah. I forgot about the swearing on stones because I was so busy picking up on all of the tropes. That's what I thought of.
Fair.
That was the big thing I focused on, was all the tropes. I'm like, oh yeah, it's that guy.
Yep.
You, right there. That's the guy.
It's a tropey book, but they did it all right.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm fine with tropey books. Like, I have some tropes in my book that I'm writing, but they're not... It depends on how it's done. It really does. And my book's not going to be everyone else's cup of tea. Because mind you, mine's a D&D backstory book. It don't end happy.
Nope.
Spoiler alert, he dies.
He dies.
He dies.
I think another major problem with this book, just from listening to you talk about it, again, you're the one who read it. I haven't read it. But it sounds like it's suffering from the very recent phenomenon within the last 10, 15 years of people writing books with the intention of them being turned into movies instead of just writing a book as a book. And a lot of books are suffering from this, as we have just a bunch of people who are becoming authors thinking that their book is going to become a movie, or that their book is good enough to become a movie, which I as somebody who's going to film school for specifically script writing and writes both books and scripts, I want to challenge authors. Instead of sitting down and writing a book, sitting down and thinking through your story enough to decide if this is a story that is going to be a book story or a script story. Not both. And if you do think it might be both, write the one that seems more correct. And if that doesn't work, then switch over. Don't just stay on the one, like, don't think, oh, this will be one and then the other. Do just one. Please. Please.
Yeah, and that was something I thought about too, is because in movies, you're able to do the watcher doesn't know everything, even though it is from multiple perspectives. Like, you can have someone look at a letter and put it back in their pocket type thing. But when you have you're in the perspective of a character and they literally read the letter, I'm sorry, I want to know what the letter is in, because otherwise it just feels like you're keeping things from me and being an asshole.
Was the book in first or third person?
The book was in, and this is, the book I'm writing is in the same vein in that aspect, is it has a overarching narrator perspective that is like the third perspective, basically. But you know what they're thinking and things like that. So it's doing like a bit of that. They are not using like the I and the things like that, but you're in their head still.
I forget which type of third person that is. That is a specific type of third person, and I'm trying to remember what type of third person that is. There's omniscient, limited, and objective. Third person objective, the facts of a narrative are reported by a seemingly neutral, impersonal observer or recorder. Third person omniscient, an all-knowing narrator, not only reports the facts, but may also interpret events and relate the thoughts and feelings of any character. And then there's third person limited. The narrator reports the facts and interprets events from the perspective of a single character. So this is a third person limited.
Yeah. To me, it was just a bit annoying because, like, this is the actual line when he's reading it. It says, Luca made a rude gesture at her and continued with the letter. He skimmed it hungrily, then forced himself to go back and chew over each line, making sure he understood it. Jacqueline Hart hoarded her favors, and she certainly didn't give them away for free, not even to her indulgent younger son. All of Luca's pain was shoved aside as he sat there, lightheaded, working through what he'd promised and what he'd won. A future for a future. It wasn't quite enough. It wasn't everything.
So there's this rule in writing where you don't write the whole plan, otherwise the plan will not work out. You don't write a big plot point right in your face, otherwise it won't work out. Like, the plot point will work out differently than what you think it's going to be. And it sounds like from that author was trying to prevent the plot point from going dead too fast, while also not acknowledging the usage of their third person limited point of view, thus making the reader, i.e. you, very frustrated in what's going on actively.
Yeah, it felt like, and when I talked to Dalton about it, he's like, it felt like they didn't know what to actually write, and you don't have to give them everything.
Mm-hmm.
You could literally just have like a throwaway line with there's like minor things in it from Luca's perspective. Like, you don't have to have the full letter, you know, that sort of thing. I felt like it needed to at least give you something, even if it was just how he what he gave up to be able to have him go home or whatever, just something.
Yeah.
But I feel like it would have been a lot more powerful if it was just Maddie's perspective and Maddie having to chew over reading the fact that, yeah, the guy that I love or whatever is being torn away from me in exchange for this one thing. Because they talk about how, oh, Luca, I don't want you to have to go back. That sort of thing. But they don't tell you why. Why does he have to go back? Because as far as I'm aware, Luca don't have to give two shits.
Yeah, you consider him a sociopath.
Yeah, like bruh is a expert con man. He could just fuck off. But yeah, it was... I feel like someone will like this. So if you like it, great. I'm not gonna judge you for it. Because there probably is things in here that are good. There were a few lines that I marked that I was like, oh yeah, that's a good line. Like how Maddie described Luca's hair at one point. I thought it was a good line. The 2 lines from Sophia I thought were super good. It does feel like either this should have been a movie, or it should have been one perspective, or just be about the lesbians.
Yeah.
I want to know their story. Like, imagine this was about Sophia, and she's having to deal with asshole Adrene, who's not getting the message and thinks she's playing hard to get, and you're married to this boring ass hunk of a man over here who's in love with this other dude, and you just want to be with the sister.
That's the lesbian romance of a century.
Yeah, I thought it would have been a good book.
Better than whatever. Like, you're so frustrated right now.
I was, and I felt like this book went on forever. I thought I was never going to be done.
That's not a good feeling to feel when you're reading.
I'm sorry, Freya Marske. And also, I apologize to Casey McQuiston. You're a fucking liar.
Wait, are there 2 authors? Oh no, the person on the book.
No, that's the review. He wrote, Marske writes what I crave most in romantasy.
It's a good chance that those people are just being paid to write little things about the books.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing, but you have to, like, get an agent for it and shit. I've been looking into how to do it, but it's not easy.
Oh, yeah. I think there was a story about... I don't remember if it was Gaiman or... Fuck Gaiman, but I don't remember if it was him or someone else. Like, he was supposed to write a review for a book, and he never actually read it, so he just came up with something to put on it.
Yeah.
I think... Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I don't trust the little, like, oh, this other author said XYZ thing about this book. Because, like...
Oh, I don't either.
They're paid to put those there. I'm not paying attention to that, dude.
If you write a book, and the back of your book is just filled with reviews for your book, and not a synopsis, I ain't buying your damn book.
It's so frustrating when that happens.
It's so stupid.
It is. I want to know about the book, not what other people think. The problem is that marketing right now in the current social media age, selling a book is more on if other people say that they like the book or not before actually, like, selling the idea of the book. So books sell more. Books, movies, and otherwise as a whole, like entertainment media and a general sense of what's going on right now, sells more if there are reviews before it is released. So they literally just pay people or ask people. That's why giveaways happen months before books come out.
I actually thought about being an ARC reader for several books that I was interested in because I follow authors on Instagram. That was what I was doing for a long time before I started doing some minor activism work, and now my feed is full of that. But there were several where I'm like, this sounds really good. And mind you, I have those books on my Kindle. I think I actually have Voice of the Ocean that I just bought on my Kindle, looking at this cover.
Kelsey and Peachy K, we love her YouTube channel.
I thought about being an ARC reader because I'm like, I love reading, and that would be my perfect job, is just reading books and giving reviews or whatever. But mind you, I then have the issue of when my executive dysfunction hits and I can't read anything and I'm on a deadline, that ain't happening. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad.
I was trying so hard. I was signing up for every ARC reader giveaway for Stephanie Garber's book coming out this month. And by this month, this episode is not going to be in September of 2025, but it is officially September of 2025 as we're recording this. So in a matter of weeks, Stephanie Garber's new book is being released, and I've been trying so desperately to win every single one of those giveaways that she posts on Instagram, that she posts as active somewhere in the interweb space. I want so bad. I don't have money right now. Please, let me be an ARC
shout
reader.
out. What book is it? What book is it?
It is Alchemy of Secrets.
Ah.
Yeah.
I don't think I recognize the book or the person, so.
That's okay.
But you know what?
I'll review
Yule is coming up. Yule is coming up, and we were talking about doing a book exchange for Yule, so.
Yes, I need a job to do that.
You just shove me a random book that you own. I won't give a damn.
Okay, cool. I'm sure I can come up
Goodwill.
with one. I have a lot of books.
Like my local Goodwill sells books for like $0.25, so.
That's nice, dude.
It is nice. That's probably how I'll buy Twilight when we decide to do that.
I miss Powell's. I miss Portland.
Mood. I actually was trying to think of what to do with this book now that I'm done with it. Because I don't want to put it in my little book library thing. Because, kids grab it. So I'm trying to decide what to do with this. So, you know what? Put suggestions in the comments about what I should do with this book. Because I can either save it for Powell's credits or I can give it to someone.
There's a whole thing in Powell's where people people order book boxes, and at the end of the year, typically around Christmas, there's just a ton of those special editions from book boxes in Powell's because people have collected so many of these book boxes books, and they will just take them to Powell's, get the credit for Powell's, and then buy new books at Powell's with their credit from giving Powell's their special editions that they've collected. Just like imagine people who are getting 6 to 7 special editions every month in the mail. They're not going to keep all of them. So they just use it to continuously make this cycle of books at Powell's.
So what we should do is save up money, go to Powell's in like January once all those special editions hit the shelves.
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
This most recent Christmas that passed, I was in Powell's at like 3 days after Christmas, and there were so many special edition books. I went to all 3 Powell's.
Go there instead of celebrating Christmas.
Yeah.
Go to Powell's.
Go to Powell's. It was a
Powell's.
great time. I could not get all of them. I managed to get my hands on like 3, and one of the 3 that I got last time I went to Powell's, which was right before I moved, was I still saw one of the 3. One of them on the shelves. There was still one more left.
This is why we need a budget.
We do.
All right. Well, listeners, that was our review of SwordCrossed by Freya Marske. Buy it if you want to buy it. Read it if you want to read it. I can't recommend it, but somebody can out there. So, Beryl, what will our next episode be about?
Yeah, join us next episode for A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Poranik. Join us next week for some gothic sapphic lesbians.